Time now for our international press review in the papers. Gulliver Cragg is here. Gulliver, where are we going today?
Well, I've got a bit of a wintry theme for us today. Christmas and New Year are coming. There's also bad weather, but that's also being accompanied by another emerging tradition that's maybe a little bit less jolly, which seems to be Russia cutting off gas supplies to its neighbours. It's happened last year and the year before, and now Russia's threatening to cut off gas to Ukraine again this year. That's reported in The Guardian, the British paper, accompanied by this rather evocative photograph of old gas equipment covered in snow. Moscow says it's going to cut Ukraine off if Kiev doesn't pay its massive debt to Gazprom by New Year's Day. By all accounts, there's no way that Kiev can pay that debt. And of course, this could affect Europe because 80% of Russian gas going to Western Europe goes through Ukraine, and Russia has warned Western Europe about it, The Guardian reports.
That picture makes you look cold just looking at it, doesn't it?
Wait till you see the picture in the Chicago Tribune that we've got coming up.
Okay.
Staying with the gas for now, Franco Venturini, an Italian columnist writing in the Corriere della Sera, says this isn't really about the money or about Ukraine. This is Russia trying to show the West that it's still strong and using these kind of Bolshevik tactics to say, don't mess with us, don't ask Ukraine and Georgia and other countries like that to join NATO because that'll annoy us, and we'll do things that'll annoy you in return. And Venturini thinks that this is a very stupid tactic for Russia to be using just before a new president is about to take office in the White House. Venturini thinks Moscow is really on a hiding to nothing by being so Bolshevik, something that's borne out in the Moscow Times by another opinion piece by Vladimir Rizhov, who says Russia's economy is really extremely weak at the moment, and freezing out its neighbours is no way to weather this economic storm.
You mentioned the Chicago Tribune.
And I mentioned freezing as well. -6 is the front page of the Chicago Tribune.
-6?
That's Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So that means -20 Celsius. And it's -30, apparently, if you take into account the wind chill factor, a major cold snap causing havoc across the northern US. Now, they've got Christmas cheer to keep them warm over there in America, but apparently even that's under threat this year in Chicago because Americans are feeling so stressed at the moment because of the economic crisis. They're worrying about money. They can't afford all the presents and food that they might normally want to buy, and there's a new word being coined for it, which is Stressmas. We see there on the Chicago Tribune.
Oh, that is incredibly sad, isn't it? And so cold. I just say cold just looking at it. Okay, what's next?
Well, I was thinking maybe the Americans could cheer themselves up if they're still looking for last-minute gifts by a new idea from the Vatican, which has given its official approval to the iBreviary. This is an application that's been developed by an Italian priest for the iPhone, which allows you to download the day's prayers in Italian, French, Spanish, English, or Latin.
What a fantastic idea. One way of maybe speeding up your rosary, perhaps. And next for us, Gulliver?
Well, it's still with the Pope. That picture we just saw on the front of La Stampa is accompanied by the headline, I am not a rock star, which was what originally drew my attention to the article. Benedict XVI is kind of trying to differentiate himself from his predecessor, John Paul II, being a little bit less populist. He says he doesn't want to be a rock star, but there's rather more serious and alarming things in the article than what he said in his end-of-year speech, where he spoke out against sex changes and gender theory, using a term, something like human ecology, to say it's just as important to protect human beings from those kinds of theories as it is to protect the rainforests from destruction. And this has understandably led to outcry from gay rights groups.
Sure, Benedict, very much a conservative Pope. Gulliver, we have to leave it there. Time against us, sadly, though I know you've got much more to say, as ever. Thank you very much, sir, for that. Our international press review. This is France Van Cat. Stay with us.